Yo. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Justin Moore, founder of Creator Wizard, where I teach you how to find and negotiate your dream sponsorships. Today, we're going to be talking about how a $5,000 sponsorship that almost fell apart turned into $60,000. Is anyone excited for this? Drop it in the chat because I'm not sure if I've ever shared this story. I did on my newsletter a few days ago, but it's the first time I've really ever kind of shared about this particular experience. And so I am going live across, you name it. I'm going live across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch. You name it, I'm there. We've got Sarah Foster Home tuning in on Instagram. Let's see who we've got on YouTube. We've got Angry Owl Outdoors. Good to see you here. Greetings and happy Friday. We've got IV Cell tuning in on TikTok. Nazamain tuning in on Instagram. We've got Bianca. What's going on, Bianca, from my team? Raga Siles. We've got Jessica Ocean tuning in on TikTok. All right, so as you know, these live streams that I do every single week are for y'all. So any questions that you have around sponsorships, negotiations, brand deals, we're going to be answering those a little bit later. So feel free to drop those in the chat. Quick acknowledgement to today's sponsor, Uscreen. I'm going to be talking about them a little bit later into the live stream as well. We've got Nakota Fishing, best live show on YouTube. Holy cow, that's a big compliment. So thank you, Sarah Dawn, tuning in from Toronto. We've got Fourthborn Child all the way from the Philippines. Good to see you here. Per usual, Sarah's here with her coffee and her knitting, so love to hear it. We've got Nikki Bum Bum tuning in. I'll never forget you, Nikki Bum Bum, because your profile photo always makes me laugh. It's that "why though" meme. I love that one. We've got Robert M. Duncan, Sierra tuning in on TikTok. Hanati tuning in. What's going on? Hey Justin, and hope everyone is well. You as well, Hanati. Good to see you here. So let's share this quick story around this particular deal. This was pretty interesting. So a creator hired me for a coaching call a ways back, and they had a brand in their inbox who basically came to them and said, hey, we have $5,000 left in our quarterly budget for this year, and we have to spend it. First of all, let's quickly talk about why that would be. That seems like an odd thing. Like, why is a brand desperate to spend money? Like, the budget's about to close, and the quarter's about to close, and we have to spend this money. So the way it typically works in most organizations, especially as the businesses get larger, is that each different department gets particular budgets. So the research and development team might get a particular budget. Marketing obviously gets a particular budget. And so every department you can imagine has a budget, right? You typically, you most often think of an advertising budget or a marketing budget. And within the marketing team, you have different budgets for different initiatives. So you may have, if it's a large brand, there's a separate budget for broadcast TV ads. There's a separate budget for print magazine ads. There's a separate budget for digital and social media. If they're working with creators, there's a separate budget for influencer marketing, right? And so you have these different budgets that are allocated on usually a quarterly and an annual basis. So you have an annual budget as well as quarterly budgets, right? And so the reason that oftentimes brands are very motivated, or different departments are very motivated to spend the money that's been allocated for them, is that what happens is that when the review time happens and they're looking at budgets for next year or next quarter, if you didn't spend the money, all the money that was allocated to you, then sometimes the kind of corporate overlords will be like, well, I guess they didn't need as much money as we allocated for them last year, and so let's shrink their budget. And no one wants their budgets shrink. It's kind of this really dysfunctional thing, but this is what happens, is that brands are like, okay, we need to spend all the dollars that were allocated to us, otherwise we're going to lose them next year. And so this is why sometimes when brands come to you and they're like, hey, we have this money, we have to spend it, what can we do for $5K or whatever? This was the situation that this creator was in. And so the challenge was, in this particular situation with this creator who had hired me, was that what the brand was asking for in terms of the deliverables and the scope of work and all that stuff should have cost $10,000. That's what the creator would have normally charged for this type of thing. And so let's take a pause here and acknowledge, what do most creators do in that situation? Well, most creators do one of three things. What most creators do actually is they just say yes for $5,000 for the scope of work. They're like, okay, I guess I can do it for 5K, right? They concede nothing to the brand. They don't pull anything off the table, and they just say yes. And so that's a dangerous prospect, because yeah, it's good that you get the deal. 5K is not nothing, but you've now set a really dangerous price precedent in the brand's mind, because they now know that moving forward, if they ever were to come back to you for future work, they're going to say, hey, well, let's just offer them 5K because they said yes to it last time, right? And so you've set this low price precedent that's going to be hard. You've kind of eroded your pricing leverage, right? And so that's a tricky prospect, right? And so most creators do that, or they'll either say no, but that's another option. They'll just say no and they'll walk away, or they'll say no, but they'll publicly drag the brand. They'll do a TikTok or a tweet or something like, this brand is making $100 million a year in revenue and they're lowballing me, like, screw them, right? It's like, you've probably seen these TikToks or these tweets or something from creators who are very myopic. They don't understand that, okay, well, if any new brands see that type of behavior, they're not going to want to touch you with a 10-foot pole. That's a topic for another day. But these three things that most creators do, right? And so this creator in particular was leaning towards option 2, right? They were just going to say no and walk away. And so I said, okay, look, let's actually try and be a little creative here. It seems like the brand has budget constraints. So why don't we go back to them and say, hey, look, it's going to be 10K for that's the investment for the scope of work that you're asking for. However, I'd be willing to allow you to pay me 50% of that out of this quarter, the remaining quarterly budget, 5K, right? And then you can pay me the balance of it with next quarter's budget, right? So whatever it was going to be, April 1st or whatever, you can pay me the balance then. Just cut a check for me out of that when the time comes there. And the creator said, they were really skeptical. They're like, I don't know if just like having flexible payment terms is really going to get this deal across the finish line. I said, well, let's give it a shot. So they sent that note to the brand, and you know what the brand said? The brand said, you would do that for us? We didn't even know that installments were an option. In that case, can we do a 12-month deal at 5K a month, which is $60,000? So the creator's mind was blown, because not only did it give them income certainty every month for the next 12 months, but they realized something very interesting about the way that bureaucracies work inside brands sometimes, is that there's all this red tape. There's all this kind of complex, intricacies that happen inside organizations that we're not privy to as creators, as influencers. Oftentimes we don't really quite understand why things work the way they do. But if you can be empathetic, and if you can be open-minded about kind of the perverse nature of budget allocation sometimes, you can actually construct some really, really incredible partnerships for yourself, if you can kind of differentiate yourself from other creators and have kind of this longer term perspective about the way things work sometimes at brands. Drop it in the chat here. Is this like opening up, resonating for you, causing you to reflect on deals that you may have done in the past that you may have been able to salvage if you were maybe a little more creative? I'm curious, because I tell this anecdote. I haven't told this anecdote many times, very often, but I told it to a few people in private, and they were like, what? Like, that's insane. And so I wanted to kind of talk about this a little bit more publicly, because I think it's things like this, right? It's like they've always kind of come, a little bit second nature to me, because I feel like I'm a pretty good salesperson, right? When I can get on a phone call with a brand, or I can get in the room with them and I can just kind of learn about them. It's been honed over many years, though. I was not good at this in the beginning, but over the last 15 years of doing deals, these are the types of kind of things that I picked up along the way, of like ways in which you can get deals over the finish line that don't just require price as the only lever in the negotiation, right? Nikki says, splitting it by quarter is smart. Yes, absolutely. Delilah says, yes, keep dropping those gems. Thank you. I will. Thank you, Delilah. Good to see you here. Drea says, wow, 5K a month for 12 months is amazing. Yes, 100% agree. Sarah says, yeah, I remember this when I worked at in an agency that got government funding. If we didn't use our funding, we lost it. It was absurd. Yes, it's weird. It's bizarre that this happens, but this absolutely happens. Drea says, good call, Justin, on telling the creator to ask them to pay the difference the following quarter. Yes, this stuff makes a difference. We've got Aaron B. Positivity tuning in on Instagram, Brenda G. D. Santiago, MM Ritalaki, non-nail artist, John Willis. Good to see you here, John. We've got Lizzie and Annalisa tuning in on TikTok. Good to see you here. Yeah, so I loved sharing this story because this is just one example of like ways in which you can be creative to differentiate yourself when you're interacting with brands. So yeah, and that you know, I laugh because it's like, you know, people will sometimes ask me like, how do you charge? Like, why do you charge $1,000 an hour for a coaching call? Or like, how can you do this? And this is an example. This is a very simple example where it was a short call with this creator, and you know, that $1,000 that they invested turned into $60,000 for them, which is a pretty sweet ROI, right? And so I've started to do kind of more of these case study. I actually hired a journalist to start interviewing some of the people that I've worked with in my one-on-one coaching and my courses and stuff like that about kind of the impact. It's not just about the dollars and cents, like direct ROI, like return on investment from working with me and going through some of my programs and stuff. It's a lot of it has to do with the mindset shift that happens when you start thinking more creatively, you start thinking more strategically about your sponsorship strategy. I think a lot of people like don't think. In fact, I talked with my good friend Jay Klaus. We did a public coaching session about this. That he had even admitted that he does not. He had to date has not felt as though he had an actual sponsorship strategy. It was very reactive. It was like, okay, these brands are coming inbound to me, and I'm just like saying yes or no. And it's like, oh yeah, it sounds good. Like this seems like a brand that's kind of aligns with my business that I've built and my audience and stuff. Seems like a good fit. But it wasn't ever really an actual strategy. And I think that that's like a big inflection point, I think, for a lot of people in their businesses when they actually sit down and think, okay, I'm not just going to be reactive now. I'm not just going to sit on my hand and wait for brands to come to me. The onus is actually on me. If I want to forge my dream brand partnerships, I'm going to go and I'm going to reach out and pitch the brands that I really actually want to work with. This has been something really interesting about the process of writing my book. I would say probably about 15 to 20% of the way done with my book, if you can believe it. It's been about a month, maybe 3 weeks since I've in earnest, like every single morning, I've sat down for 2 hours, and I have a writing block now. And so I'm writing, I would say 1,000 to probably 1,500 words per session now. And a good, the first week I would say was structural. It was like getting the outline done, kind of collating a lot of stuff that I've written over the last several years around sponsorship stuff, and just kind of starting to understand what the structure is going to look like. And I'm getting really excited because it's, I was on a podcast yesterday, and it made me realize how the surprising thing about writing the book is that it's made me a more articulate speaker. And someone, my friend Paul, replied and said, what did he say? I wish I could remember. It was something like, writing is the best way to well, God, okay, hold on. I'm going to find it because it was so good. Hey baby. Oh, what's going on?
You know what's so good though? This man's
Come
advice.
here. Oh.
His courses.
Come sit on my lap. Come here. I don't
you.
care. Come here. Come give us a cameo. I don't care.
I took a Pilates class. I smell. Hi friends.
How's it going,
How
baby?
are you?
How was your class?
It was great.
We're talking about, we got the kitty now. Hey honey.
Hi.
Nice. We're talking about how I helped someone turn a 5K sponsorship into a 60K sponsorship.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so we're talking about creative negotiation, that type of stuff.
That's incredible. Like, that's life-changing.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah. Tell us about the class. How'd it go?
It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
I got my
Looks like it went well.
You guys, since we're talking about sponsorships, I also got my biggest sponsorship recently.
Hell yeah. Come on,
Yeah.
let's go. Here, hit the cha-ching.
Cha.
Hit the cha-ching. There
Bum,
we go.
bum,
Cha-ching.
bum. Oh, no.
Largest sponsorship ever. Let's hear it. Come on. Get some
Ooh.
golf claps in the chat. Some praise hands emojis.
And I see that today's sponsor is Uscreen.
Yes, it
hey, we love Uscreen. We love Uscreen. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, thank you, Aaron. Oh, KMH family, how are you? You guys, Justin's amazing. Like his book's gonna be good. We know this. We really do. I'm just, if you don't mind, I like reading the comments, honey.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Sorry, I'm a quiet reader.
I talk at the same time as reading.
I'm a quiet
Yeah.
reader. I'm like, you guys, I'm a slow reader. Let me say, you know how when people show you like their phone and then they take away. I'm like, wait, I just started reading the first sentence. Wait a second now. Delilah, thank you kindly very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My kid, come here, Sunrise. He's trying to, because April's here. He wants to be here. Oh, my kitty.
Oh, Drea's Curious Cuisine. Congratulations to you.
He wants to be with you, honey.
Oh, yeah, our Sunrise is so sweet. He really is. Honey, Noemi, Monique says, did we say your name correctly? Noemi. Yes, I love your name. What do you think are the main roadblocks when trying to turn a one-off deal into a long-term partnership? Go ahead, Justin.
What's your thoughts on this? Do you have any thoughts on this?
I think one of the roadblocks
Roadblocks.
is that sometimes brands will ask to do a trial at first. And I think that's a good reason. They want to do a trial. They want to see if you're performing well. They want to see if you're a good fit. I see that, but I'm the type of person that's like, let's do a 5 partnership deal. But also prove yourself, prove yourself that you're doing well for the brand, and then they'll want to come back to you and maybe offer you a better opportunity or more opportunities. That's what happened with us with our biggest opportunity. We did very well, and then they were like, we would love to work with you more. We have more budget. And I said, wait a second now. And the thing is, in the beginning of the year, I manifested this. Like, it's not more manifesting, but I worked for it, of course, for like the past decade. But it was more like, this was my biggest dream to ever happen. And it happened. And we were so excited. Like, you had like this thought in your mind, a number in your head, and you're like, I want to achieve this one day. And then it happened. And it's so amazing.
That's so like just logistically about this thing. What we were actually just talking about this is that they had additional budget. They're whether it's quarterly or annually or whatever for this particular campaign. We're kind of in the middle of the partnership. And what do you think happens when you are their standout partner of all the people that they're working with, and you're professional, you're communicative, and the prospect of, who they get this money and they're like, who should we give it to? Should we give it to the people who have been like the most amazing people throughout the execution phase? I talk a lot about this in my Brand Deal Wizard program. Is like that's the point. It's the actual, come here, buddy. Come here, jump up here. It's like it's during this phase. Yeah, he's losing his mind. He can't be on your lap. Sunrises, April's, yeah.
I'm a crazy cat lady.
Can
I say
yes.
hi?
Oh, yeah.
Nikki Bum Bum. Hi, Nikki Bum Bum.
Sunrise is doing okay. Thanks for asking. It's been, it sounds like you've been following the episodes of our cat Sunrise has cancer, so it's been a sad time over the last couple weeks for us. So
yeah,
he had surgery.
He has carcinoma and lymphoma. They took the tumor from his colon. They removed it. He had surgery, but then when he had surgery, they found in the biopsies or just having surgery that everything spread. It spread everywhere, and so he's on chemotherapy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
been,
he's a little.
been sad.
I think he's what you call like dementia. He got dementia now or something because he just meows nonstop. And then when I hold him, he still meows. So I really don't know how to help him.
It's been tough.
Yeah, we can tell he's a different cat now, and it's really sad. He'd be like looking out of nowhere. Like, what you see? My baby, what you see? You know what? They probably see ghosts. They probably see ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to bother you.
It's okay. It's okay.
I know I
Thanks
can
for
bother you during live.
Thanks for the cameo, baby.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Sunrise is very. Can you see if we got the wet food? Because
Bye bye, friends.
yeah, okay.
Have a great day.
Love you. Lunch after? Okay.
Yeah, what you want me to make?
Whatever, baby. Oh, you made I got all I need.
Stop it.
I got all I need.
Creepy.
Love you. Love you. Yeah, it's been a rough month or so for us. I probably mentioned my son Jacob also had surgery, so he had a tonsillectomy. So there's just like a lot of doctor's visits, and it's been pretty rough. But anyways, thank you guys for all the well wishes. Appreciate it. Yeah. So just on the real quick on the subject of this huge deal that April landed, that we landed, they came, it was in the middle of the partnership. They came back to us. They had incremental funds, and they had a great experience working with us. And so who do you think they're going to allocate those funds to? They're going to allocate to the people that they have had a really pleasant experience working with, right? And so a lot of times people are thinking like, oh, how do you turn these like one-off deals into long-term things? It's like a lot of it happens in the middle of the partnership. It's not like if, you don't need to just be myopic and think like, oh, how do I turn it right at the beginning? How do I turn this into like a long-term thing? Like how do I upsell the brand to like make them want to pay me all this more money? And of course that's one strategy, but there's other ways in which you can like extend you make this partnership, much larger. It doesn't have to just be about, like taking all the money off the table right at the initial right at the outset of the relationship. Let's be real here. Like a lot of people ask this question of like, how do I make more money? How do I turn it into a long-term thing? You have to understand, like a lot of brands have PTSD from their experience working with creators because they've worked with a lot of people for the very first time and they got burned. The people were unprofessional, they were rude, they didn't turn stuff in on time. And so do you think they're very motivated to like sign a 12-month deal with a creator that they've never worked with? No, not really. And so, it's okay sometimes to kind of do some of these initial relationships, these initial partnerships, but your whole goal should be blowing their socks off when they work with you on this initial deal so that when you come back to them and pitch a longer term thing, it's a very palatable, more than palatable. It's an exciting thing for them because they just had this great experience working with you on this first campaign, right? And so I know everyone wants these like longer term things, but you have to be realistic. You have to understand where the brand is coming from. Like if it was your brand, you'd probably want to have a little bit of experience working with this person before you extended this big lucrative deal with them, right? Because you've never worked with them before. It's just reality, right? All right. So real quickly, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank today's sponsor, Uscreen. I've mentioned them before. I work with a lot of different types of creators, but I got to say that YouTubers and video first creators in particular always seem to have the hardest time monetizing. I think it's usually kind of AdSense and maybe sponsorships for the most part. But when I ask why they haven't considered a membership, most either they stare back blankly or they say, oh yeah, I've never really considered it. Now, I believe that especially long-form video creators have a unique advantage to serve their audience on a much deeper level through a membership, because I think you probably agree with me that viewers sticking around for, let's say, 15 minutes are a lot different than those that are maybe swiping away after a 30-second short-form video, right? And you guess it, video memberships are exactly what Uscreen specializes in. In fact, Uscreen has helped creators make more than $150 million by providing the tools and the infrastructure and the education to design a membership that your audience will thank you for. I talk a lot about how important, it is to involve your audience in these types of big business decisions, to not just create a membership in a vacuum without asking them like what types of features that they want, what type of content, whether they want a built-in community. In fact, I did this before I was launching my course, Brand Deal Wizard. I didn't just go into a vacuum, film all the material, not talk to anyone. I did one-on-one coaching first. Like I really wanted to get that feedback and learn like what do people want? What do people want to see in a community like that, right? And once you have that, you start getting this pulse on what your audience is looking for. The good news is that Uscreen can do it all. You can do live streaming, you can do chat rooms, you can even have your own branded app for creators. I'm actually going to pull up their website so you can see a little bit more about this. You can see it here. Video creators build profitable memberships on Uscreen. They have it right there above the fold. You might be familiar with folks like Yoga with Adrienne, for example. She has an app called Find What Feels Good that was built by Uscreen, by the way, and her value proposition is basically, here's my entire video catalog, no ads and exclusive content. And by the way, you don't have to be a gigantic creator to build a lucrative membership. There's tons of niche creators who you can see on here. We've got Recipe Kick, Jazzercise, Jump Rope Dudes, Kula, Means TV. They only have 10,000 subs here, right? So honestly, like, you don't have to have a gigantic audience. There's another creator who built, they're called Adjuster TV. So they have a Uscreen membership that helps insurance adjusters learn how to break into that career. Really, really fascinating, really niche. I know I'm piquing your interest, but maybe you're sitting here thinking, I don't know, this is kind of overwhelming. I don't know where to start. Well, that's why Uscreen has something called Membership Plus, which is a free educational resource that teaches you how to build a successful membership from start to finish. I've even got some exclusive videos on there that I've done with creators like John Ushai. So I would say probably the most important reason that you should check out Uscreen is that they're just awesome people. I've been at some recent conferences and hung out with some folks on their team like Rob and Srey, and they just couldn't be nicer and just more dedicated to serving the creator economy. So if you are a video first creator listening here to this live stream and you want to learn more about how to build a profitable membership that's going to get you off the social media hamster wheel, you can book a free demo. Learn how to create that stable, predictable income. I have to reshare the right tab. There we go. You can book a free demo with Uscreen, and you can click the link below. I actually have it linked in the description box here. Tell them that Justin from Creator Wizard sent you. And remember, when you guys support the sponsors that support me, it helps me continue to bring you awesome free content and live streams like this. So let them know I sent you. It would mean a lot to me. So thanks again to Uscreen for sponsoring this portion of the live stream. All right. So what questions do you have around sponsorships, negotiations, brand deals? Would love to help, support you in that. What questions do you have? We've got Dad Mania tuning in on Instagram. Keith Kalfas, what's going on? Keith, good to see you here, dude. We've got Big Boy 5. We've got, let's see here. We've got Jason McAvoy. Okay, here we go. Jason McAvoy said, I'm launching my newsletter and my channel at the same time on the same niche. Any suggestions helping set up myself for success moving down the line to monetizing my business? That's a great question, Jason. So if I could go back and start all over again and put my hand on the shoulder of Justin when I was just first starting, I would absolutely emphasize that the call to action in every piece of content that I created on YouTube, on social media, or whatever would be to join the newsletter. That was, I've shared this story before that when my wife April and I, we actually tried to launch a paid membership in 2015, and it failed. It was a massive failure. We had a ton of blowback from our audience. They were super mad at us. We made so many mistakes about launching that, but we made one interesting discovery, which was also a failure, by the way, but it was a learning lesson a mistake that I did not make again, which was that we launched a newsletter or an email list back then in 2015. The whole reason was so that we could try to get people, interested in joining the paid membership. And quite easily, this was, remember, at our YouTube heyday, we were getting hundreds of thousands of views per video. It was insane. And so within a 2-week time span, we got 30,000 people to join our newsletter. It was insane. And basically we launched the membership, it failed. And so we stopped sending emails to the newsletter because we were like, well, we don't really have any stuff on an ongoing basis to say to this newsletter. So I guess we're just kind of stop emailing them, which was a huge mistake. And so we did not email that list for, I think, 6 or 7 years, something like that. And then when we started getting more serious about wow, we have all these contacts here, we should probably do something with this. And so we ran a re-engagement campaign. We said, hey, you haven't heard from us in 6 or 7 years. Do you still want to hear from us? Click here to re-engage. And of the 30,000 people that were on that list, only 1,000 people opted back in for whatever reason, right? They just had moved on, they weren't interested, whatever. And so that was a dagger to the chest at that time. And so when I started Creator Wizard, I was not going to make that same mistake. And so from the beginning, every single call to action that I made in any piece of content on social media is join my newsletter, join my newsletter, join my newsletter. And it's not just join my email list to stay updated with the latest trends and news and stuff like that. That's boring. No one wants more email. No one wants that, right? It has to be a very, very clear value proposition. And I'll also buck a commonly held belief that in the kind of newsletter space, email list space, is that you got to have the lead magnet. That's what everyone says. And that's what I did at first. I was like, here's my pricing checklist, or here's my, money management checklist. And every time I release a new YouTube video, I had like a new lead magnet. And, for some people that can work. But what ultimately, what I found was that it was actually the promise of future content. Like if you can make a really compelling value proposition of like, what are you going to get on an ongoing basis from me? That was actually when I saw an inflection point. And so what I really did was I said, hey, I'm going to send you paid sponsorship opportunities every single week for free. That's the value proposition. None of these lead magnets. I'm going to ditch all that stuff. No, I'm going to send you paid sponsorship opportunities. So I don't know what that value, what the version of that value proposition is for you. In your business, but I would sit and meditate. What is that for you, right? That was really, if I could give you any advice, like it would be that is like what is the reason that people want to hear from me every single week? It has to be very compelling, and so having that newsletter, but also kind of the ongoing thing. And man, if I look at it, it's one of the, it's the economic engine. My newsletter, my email list is the economic engine behind my business, because I've got 30,000+ creators on there now, who have, raised their hand. And by the way, I'm actively honing my list. In fact, I just purged 5,000 people from the newsletter. Almost 6,000 people from the newsletter. So I was up to 36,000, and now I'm back down to 31,000 and change, because I purged people off the list who hadn't engaged in my list in 6 months or 90 days, or I can't remember what it was, but I basically purged all those people. I didn't even run a re-engagement campaign. I said, hey, do you want to? I've tried that in the past where it's like, oh, you want to still stay around for my content, and very, very small people like opt back in. So I just deleted them. Hey, if you're not engaging with my stuff, fine, see ya. Like, I'm not serving you anymore. It's okay. There's other reasons why I did that improves deliverability. Like, you only want people on your list who like find value in what you do. So you have to kill your darlings. If they don't want to be on the list, like just it's okay. Sayonara. Like, I'm not serving you. It's okay. And so that would be my major piece of advice, Jason. Good luck. All right, let's see here. What questions we got? Thanks for all the liking of the live, Sarah Sanchez. I see you on TikTok. Thank you. I've got a question here from Brandon, Tech Audit TV. What's going on, Brandon? Justin, for a first-time deal, do you ask for an upfront deposit before publishing? I'm working with someone that has sent the product, but I'm suspicious they won't pay after publication. Well, that's challenging. I'm wondering why you feel that suspicion. Usually, our best practice is to ask for 50%, 50% of the balance, or 50% of the payment, at the standard net payment terms of their accounts payable team, from the date of execution of the agreement. So the date you sign the agreement, then you send an invoice at net 30 or something. And so you start getting a chunk of that money going, essentially, get the clock started to receive some of that money. And then the balance, or the remaining 50%, net 30 or net 60 or whatever the payment terms are, net 7. Usually I'll do net 7 for my newsletter partnerships and stuff like that. And then you get that, the balance after completion of services, basically. And so if you already are worried about, the brand not paying, I mean, first of all, it comes down to what you agree to in the contract, right? So hopefully that you had the payment terms articulated in like how they were going to pay. But if not, that's concerning. So I don't know, maybe you can provide a little more color of why you're nervous that they're not going to pay, because the other thing too is that, like, I mean, I do that just for best practice. Like, it's reasonable. Like, you're starting to work on it. You should receive some of that money, like especially if, you're in a niche where maybe you're a DIY creator and, you have to buy supplies or, to actually create the content or whatever. You're upcycling thrifted furniture or something. You have to buy paint and whatever, right? It's like, yeah, good to like start recouping some of that money. But that's just one reason. But the reason that it's never really been something that I've stressed out about that much over the years, primarily because the goal for us has always been to build up a business where we're not stressing about every single brand payment that comes in. And you accomplish this a couple ways. You accomplish this by volume of deal flow. size of the checks, as well as diversifying your business. So you're not just reliant on one single revenue stream. So yes, sponsorship plays a big role in our business, but we have other things that we're doing, right? We have a robust affiliate marketing portion of our business. I obviously have courses and coaching and consulting and stuff like that now. I have my ongoing, essentially kind of membership model, my asynchronous coaching now, which is a recurring revenue element to my business that I didn't have before. And so building these channels, these revenue streams up in your business so that you are not stressing out over, a brand who says, because there are a lot of larger advertisers that say, net 30 after completion of services. That's just how we do things. Take it or leave it, basically. For these very large advertisers, they have this kind of set in stone accounting procedure, and it's going to be, you're going to have to move heaven and earth to try to get them to agree to something else. And so that's always been not a battle I've been wanting to wage. It's like, okay, fine. If that's your standard payment terms, sounds good, And if you really are at a point where you are stressing this, because I understand you have to get to a certain point to be able to afford that luxury of not stressing out about it. There's things that you can do. You can hire invoice factoring companies. There's these companies out there where, in essence, you're selling them the invoice. You say, hey, if you pay me up front, here's an invoice, signed contract that I have with this brand or this large advertiser. You pay me for a fee, right? Usually it's a percentage of the invoice or a maximum $50 per invoice, or whatever. Every invoice factoring company has a different model. But then you go chase the invoice. Go out there and, you're the one who's actually going to ultimately get paid. And, they get a fee for that, for doing something like that. Fine, you can do that. I'm not a huge fan of doing that, mainly because I don't like inserting anyone into the middle of the relationship that I have with the brand. I just think that's not, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. That's another reason why I'm not a fan of having managers or agents or anything like that. I want to be the one in control of who's representing me out in the market. And that's one area of the business that I want to own, right? I'm kind of the chief salesperson, the chief business manager. I saw this really interesting thread on Twitter actually this morning where they were talking about, having a manager, having a creator, having someone who's your agent, who's your broker, essentially to kind of do these deals for you. And the thing that always stuck out, they were talking about, it was like a nightmare client that this creator manager had because this person was not getting them deals quickly enough. And the thing that's always funny to me is that if you do not know as a creator, if you cannot sell yourself as a creator, someone else is going to have a really hard time doing it. If you don't know what your core value proposition is, and if you have not developed the skill set of actually reaching out there, if you don't have a lot of deal flow, if you have not honed the skill of learning, why would people want to work with me? If you don't understand that and cannot teach someone else that's a big problem. That's a recipe for success. You're a commodity at that point. There's nothing unique about you. And so this is why I believe it's so important that, you learn this stuff. You educate yourself as a creator to understand what is your unique value proposition when you're going out there and working with partners. And if you don't know it, if you can't articulate it, you absolutely should not assign someone else the responsibility of selling it if they don't even know. It's a big problem. Okay, so it's my personal opinion, but yeah. All right, let me. Real Chris Ryan says, I haven't seen a ton of agencies or brands doing the 50% on signature. Have you asked them? We ask all the time. It's standard for us. If they don't have it, when I'm redlining the contract, and it says net 60 on completion of services, I'll redline it and say, 50% upon, net 60 upon execution of the contract. And 60% of the time they say, okay. And 40% of the time they say, no, sorry. And I say, okay. Right. It's it never hurts to ask, right? A lot of them are not going to want to do that, but I think, you can absolutely negotiate the payment terms. It's been my experience. So, yeah, interesting reflection there. All right. Titanium Justin on Instagram says, when cold messaging for product sponsorship, how do you open the door for talks? So I've talked about, I have this pitching methodology that I teach, Justin. It's called the ROPE method. R stands for your pitch has to be relevant to a campaign that the brand is either currently running or has run in the past. O stands for organic, meaning that you can tie your pitch back to organic work that you have published that illustrates that your audience has an affinity for their brand or their product. P stands for proof, so you can illustrate how you've helped other brands achieve results. And E stands for easy to execute, when the brand says yes or when they say that they're interested. And so rather than just being like, I love your brand, I've been using it for 3 years, which is going to get that message deleted, you're going to get ghosted. You have to spend some time researching what's going on in the brand's world that it seems like they'll care about when you reach out. In fact, I just wrapped a brand new thing that I've never done called the 7-day pitch challenge. Let me know in the chat. Anyone here who participated in the 7-day pitch challenge? I think I saw a few of you here. And this is expressly what we talked about, Justin. Like we went over the entire thing. Like, how do you craft the pitch? It's not just about crafting the pitch. How do you know who's the right person to send it? It's these two things. It's like you have to know what to say, and you have to know who to send it to. Oftentimes, creators convince themselves that pitching doesn't work because they send really crappy pitches and they send it to the wrong person. And so they say, "Oh, pitching doesn't work." When that's totally false. It does work if you say something interesting, what's in it for them, and you're sending it to the right who's, you've done some research into, okay, yeah, I'm going to send it to the influencer marketing manager, or I'm going to send it to the content marketing manager based on the thrust of the pitch. I'm going to send it to the digital strategist because I've researched and ascertained based on the job description that this person has on LinkedIn. It seems like this is the decision maker here, right? So it requires some thoughtfulness. It requires some art and some science to understanding this type of stuff. But that, in essence, I have some videos on my YouTube channel more about this, Justin, if you want to go and take a look. But that really, at its core, is what it's about, how you get on the radar of these brands. So I hope that helps. All right, I'm going to take a swig here. Delilah says, I did the 7-day pitch challenge was amazing. I highly recommend anyone do it for the next go round. Thank you, Delilah. I'm so proud that you found so much value. North Shore Overland says 10,000% worth doing the challenge. Holy moly! Like, come on, I'm just gonna screenshot that one. Like. Stefan, good to see you here. I think you're Stefan, right? North Shore Overland. I think I recognize your logo. Appreciate that. That's dope. Let's see here. Justin says, I'll check them out. Thank you. Of course. Yeah. Hopefully that was helpful. We've got Brady, your tutor, tuning in. What's up, Brady? Good to see you here, dude. All right. Hold on. I think I saw Lulu. Jenny, what's up? Hey, Justin, I came on late. What if the brand's budget is low for the deliverables that they want? I know we're supposed to present different packages. Just wondering if it's okay presenting higher prices. I'm really glad you brought this up, Jenny. Good to see you here. So this is one trap that I think a lot of creators fall in when a brand gives them a budget. They say, hey, this is how much we have, $1,000. Like, what can we do with this type of thing? A lot of people think, okay, well, I guess I have to provide, all the packages that I provide to them have to fall within that budget. And that's totally not true. That is a helpful anchor that you have now when you present to them, but you can absolutely present them packages that are otherwise. In fact, I was just talking with a creator over DM on Instagram who was or Twitter maybe, and it was this challenge. The brand had said that their budget was $5K, and so they said, okay, well, I guess I have to offer packages that are like, 2,500 and 5K, like, or 1,000, 2,500, 5K. And I said, no, like, absolutely not. Like, you can absolutely provide them packages that are above that budget because budgets change. If you propose something to them in the $7,500 tier or the $10,000 tier that they didn't realize that that's something that you could offer. Maybe it's a platform that they didn't know you had a presence on. Maybe you have a newsletter with 10,000 of their ideal customers on it that they didn't even know you had. And the only way in which they can access that was the $10,000 tier. They may come back to you and say, hey, we really would love to do that thing over here, but is there a way in which we could craft some sort of bespoke custom package that included that? Because we actually realized that that's what we wanted. And in fact, we found another $1,000 or $2,000 to be able to make that happen. What could we do? Things change all the time. I say this a lot, like the brand's not just talking with you, almost never. They're talking with other people. And so the budget that they tell you is probably the budget that they've allocated per partner. So they've allocated 5K to you, but in fact, their budget is actually 50K. And so what they're trying to do is Tetris the budget together for all the different partners that they're working with. And so it's not just about, they're going to move forward with 10 partners. They may ultimately decide, because of something that you propose to them in the 10K tier, in fact, maybe we could just hire Justin, and we wouldn't have to hire these like 2 other people that we were considering. And so instead of moving forward with 10 partners, let's move forward with 7. And we'll give Justin like a larger allocation of the budget, because we realized he can actually check off a couple more boxes that we wanted to accomplish in this campaign. And so you always should be providing budget tiers above what the brand recommended or said, because that could spur a larger conversation into how you can serve them and potentially, get more budget on that deal. And so Jenny, to answer your question more pointedly, even if they said that their, budget is lower, you absolutely should be either providing them other ideas, or you have to be like taking things off the table. You have to say, okay, well, if that's the case, we can move forward for X minus Y. It's going to be, less videos, or it's going to be less posts, or less, podcast ad reads or newsletter blasts, or whatever the scope is that you're doing, and say that this is the reality here. And like, if it doesn't work out, like, it's okay. Let's keep in touch, and having the wherewithal to walk away from that deal. It's hard, but it's worse to establish a really poor price precedent. I can't tell you how many creators reach out to me with this problem. I agreed to do a trial rate for this partner. I just came down on my rate. I wanted to charge 5K, but I agreed to it for 2,500 because it's still 2,500 bucks. I get it. This is the hardest thing to do, but you've now established this really bad price precedent, and they just don't want to go higher. The brand said, you did it for 2,500 before, like that's all we can offer for moving forward. And so you have to have a long-term mindset here that you don't want to get into that situation. You absolutely don't want to get there. And so you have to restrain yourself and realize that, saying no, there's a lot of power in saying no. Okay. Glam by Runa says, yeah, I'm new here. A brand said 200 for a video, and I laughed and said, more like 2,500. And they said yes. Now I felt like I should have asked for more. Wow. So they came up, more than 10 times on their rate to you, Runa, which is crazy. And by the way, it's really easy to get mad in situations like that. Like, how dare the brand? Like, screw them. Like, they would have paid me like, 10 times less, like this type of thing. Imagine it was your brand. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you're trying to get the most mileage out of the dollars that you have for your marketing spend. This is what you would do. Obviously, there's a point at which you don't want to insult people, of course. But like, if your influencer marketing, if you've achieved a certain level of scale where you're like working with lots and lots of people, like, yeah, you're going to go out there and try to, see what people's market rates are. And if you're going to do it for 200 bucks, fine. If you're going to do it for 2,500 bucks, fine. Right. As long as you're going to help them accomplish the objective. Like, this is let me tell you one thing. If I had to distill everything that I teach into one sentiment, it's if you can have humility, if you can have objectivity and not get mad when most other people do, you are going to be very successful as a creator. If you cannot get upset and pissed off at the brand for saying no to your proposal or offering you what you felt was an insulting amount, if you can go back and have the humility and the objectivity to move forward with that relationship, obviously they still have to be a good partner. They can't be insulting you, because sometimes if they do insult you, that could be a warning sign of other toxic things about the relationships. That's not what I'm saying. But if you can have objectivity and realize that this is just business, this is a business transaction. If you can have that level of humility, you're going to go very, very, very far in this industry. Trust me, because I've been doing this 15 years. I ran an agency for many years, and I can tell you that the creators who had that objectivity, we just wanted to work with them over and over and over and over. They understand that, hey, yeah, we brought this deal to them from this one brand, and it was, yeah, we were happy to pay them 5K, but this other deal over here, the brand, same creator, same scope of work, but this brand only has 2K, and they were willing to understand and do it. Like, we kept bringing that creator business. We just kept doing it because they understood that this is just business. Like, every brand has a different budget appetite based on what they're trying to accomplish. Not a lot. Most creators don't get this, but this is the way to do it. You are, rather than trying to swing for the fences every single time and trying to hit a home run, excuse the sports analogy here, your goal should be hitting singles and doubles. That's the goal. Hitting singles and doubles. I will never forget this anecdote that when we were part of a multi-channel network for our YouTube channel back in the day, it was a great experience. This one particular MCN, we were part of some others that were not great, but this one particular MCN, one of the sales executives took us aside. It was like at a party. We were at South by Southwest, I think. And they had like this mixer and they said, the reason that you and April get so much business is because you're kind of at this sweet spot of what the majority of brands can afford. Remember, my wife and I have never had like tens of millions of followers. That's never been us. We've always had like hundreds of thousands. That was like our sweet spot, right? And she said, most brands, they can't afford 6 figures for a single integration, a single partnership. They just can't do it. Most brands can afford like 5 to 50K for like a single activation. That's their sweet spot. And so we have built a super robust business over the last decade, basically, of just hitting these singles, these doubles, these triples, 5, 10, 15, 20K deals over and over and over and over. And we built this really consistent, scalable business from sponsorships doing it. And that has been the basis of the agency that I created. And it's the core of the Brand Deal Wizard program that I created. It's how do you do this? This is it. Everything I just described, this is what Brand Deal Wizard is all about. And so if that sounds interesting to you, you should sign up for Brand Deal Wizard. Creatorwizard.com/Brand Deal Wizard. So anyways, Keith says, I gave away the farm for 10K. Then the next year, I realized it should be 50K and they wouldn't budge higher than 10K. Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough, man. So you got to be real careful about this stuff. All right. Yeah, Jenny says, thank you. It's about, yeah, okay. Yeah. It's about knowing your value. Yeah. 100% agree. All right. So, there was a question on TikTok that I wanted to get to. We have Lola here in the chat. What's up, Lola? Good to see you here. Lola says, how low is too low? When would it be considered devaluing your content and locking into low rates? Well, this is a great question, Lola. So if you're a creator and you're wondering, like, I just want to get some experience. The brand, they're lowballing me. They're not offering me very much money, $100, $200, $500, whatever. But man, it feels like what they're asking for is a lot of work. Like, I don't know if I should do this. I'll say this. There is value in getting experience under your belt of doing collaborations, understanding what's expected of you when you work with a brand, you work with an agency, understanding the contract, the pitching process, the negotiating, the contract phase, having to put together concepts for the brand, having to actually produce that content once it's greenlit and do it in a way that, the brand's really excited about. How do you respond to feedback, when, brands come back to you and say, hey, actually, can you edit this out? Or we didn't really like the way that you did that. How do you publish properly and not screw it up? How do you analyze your performance once you post it so you can actually deliver some interesting insights back to the brand at the end? What you may have just realized as I went through, this is my 8-step sponsorship wheel. Those 8 steps: pitching, negotiating, contract, concept, production, feedback, publication, analysis. There's value in getting some reps, getting some repetitions under your belt. And if that means, there may be some deals where you're doing these $100, $200, $500 deals. The reason that I do think there is value there is that the last thing you want is when your dream brand reaches out, you don't want to screw it up. Let's be real here. Like, you don't want to screw that thing up, whether it's charging too little money or screwing something up and then they never want to work with you again. Like, that's the worst case scenario in my view. And so I think there is value in maybe doing some deals in the beginning where you do gain that experience. I do think you have to balance that though with, sometimes it's too much. Sometimes the brand's asking you to do, tons and tons of videos per month or posts per month or filming all these videos, and they're going to pay you $10 per video and stuff. And it's just like, does not feel like worth it, right? This doesn't seem worth it for this $20 bag of potato chips, you got to have some sort of like come to Jesus moment where you're just like, I don't think this seems right, and so I think that line is different for everyone. I can't tell you what that number is for you. And look, I'm not gonna like, look, $100, $200, $500, that's meaningful. That's groceries, that's rent, that's utilities. You know, that like for a lot of people, that's like a super meaningful amount. And so I'm not gonna be on here looking down on anyone or condescending on anyone and being like, don't take that deal. It's like, but what I'm saying is that there will become a point where you realize, like, you know what? I think it's time. I think I'm getting thousands of views per video now, or I have 10,000 people on my newsletter or my podcast listening to me or whatever, my TikTok videos, YouTube, whatever. You have to have that moment at some point where you realize, okay, I need to be a little bit more. Remember we talked earlier, I have to have a sponsorship strategy now. I can't just like be reactive constantly. And this is the primary reason that I think people watch my content, work with me, join my courses and stuff like that, is they've reached that point where it's just like, I think I'm ready now to like, not make those mistakes anymore. And so I think, again, I can't answer it specifically of like, okay, this is the time. It's like when you reach this many followers or this many views or whatever. I think it's different for everyone. And it has to be this kind of balancing act that you strike. So hopefully that's helpful, Lola. All right. Let's see here. There's a question further up here from, I think, Sarah. Where is it? I'm going to miss it. Delilah says, you're amazing, Justin. Your newsletter is so valuable on its own. You give so willingly and lovingly so much of your knowledge for free, and people need to truly get in on it. I really appreciate that, Delilah. That's so kind of you. Really, really appreciate that. Let's see here. God, I missed this. Often the S's. I had a meeting this morning with a brand that I pitched during the 7-day pitch challenge. It went great, and they were eager to work together. There is no doubt that the challenge helped a ton. Amazing. Congratulations. That's huge. During the call, the brand emphasized the value of the free product I'd get. Money is still part of the deal. Any tips for such situations to help highlight my value and make the brand understand why the value I provide is more than just a free product? All right. This is a really great question. First of all, I'm proud of you. Congratulations. That's amazing that you were able to hear back. I want to pull up. One of the bonuses when you join my Brando Wizard program is you get access to my Gifted to Paid program. And in Gifted to Paid, I have all of these scripts. And I want to pull this up real quickly because, brands will say, hey, things like this, like, oh, the product is expensive, so that should be like compensation enough, right? There's all these like, versions of like, we're not going to pay you, or like, the product is expensive, or be an ambassador, or be an affiliate. There's just like all these different versions of like, hey, we're not going to pay you, right? What I like to talk about is that there's all you have to be saying different things to all these things. You can't just be saying, oh, I'm only prioritizing paid partnerships right now, which is what most creators do, right? And so I want to find the script that is specifically for this because, product is expensive. Bear with me here. Here we go. See, I knew I could find it quickly. Isn't that amazing? All right, let me share my screen here. So this script is saying the following. Totally understand where you're coming from. One of the reasons I think this collaboration will perform really well is because my audience regularly messages me when they have purchased similar products or products at a similar price point, then you insert that I've shared. Check out the attached screenshots as an example. I've also attached my audience demographics so you can see how they align with the types of consumers that you're trying to reach. With this in mind, let me know what type of budget you'd be able to allocate to our partnership. And so a big part of this is, again, really hammering home this, agitating this thing around how you're not just, we talked about demographics in here, but you can even share psychographics. That's what kind of the psychographic or the screenshots of like people like messaging you and saying like, oh, I bought the thing when you shared it on YouTube or Instagram stories or something. I bought it, right? You start screenshotting a lot of that kind of qualitative insights and have that at the ready when you're negotiating with a brand who provides this objection. And so a lot of it comes down to them wanting to have kind of CYA, cover your beep, basically, right? So that if they're going to pay you and they, either it goes well or it doesn't go well, they have air cover where they can go back to their boss, or if it's an agency, they can go back to their client and say, hey, we had this data. It seemed like it was a good, a relatively safe bet for us to pay off in the S's $5K or $10K or whatever for this deal. And so a lot of it comes down to just giving them some fodder, giving them some kind of more proof that that their investment is going to be worthwhile. And so this is just one example of like what you can say to combat some of these objections. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. And again, if you join Brand Deal Wizard, you get access to this as a bonus. All right, let's see here. I think we've got time for one more question. North Shore Overland says, I'm on phase 2 of contacting a brand. Still no response. Would you ever do a phone call? I know it's a small enough company. I could call and just ask to speak to the person. Heck yeah. Heck, absolutely. Yes, you can do that. It's a dying, skill, I would say. Like a lot of people are terrified to like pick up the phone and actually do a cold call, but you can absolutely do that, Steph. And if you're comfortable with that, just calling and asking for the marketing person, heck yeah, I would absolutely do that. Like that's something that I would absolutely do. I don't typically give that advice because like anytime I provide that advice to a creator, they like freak out and they're like, no, I can't do that. I absolutely cannot do that. And so if you feel comfortable to do that, heck yeah, that could be your follow-up attempt, for the second round or the third round or whatever. Yeah, heck yeah. If you do that, let me know. Let me know what happens there because I'm really curious. Hanadi says, yes, Brand Deal Wizard is the best. I'm a 2 to 3 year alumni now, and I still go back to all the gems and information that is in Brand Deal Wizard. Without a doubt, one of the best courses out there. Hanadi, you are the best. I feel like you'd give an amazing glowing testimonial, Brand Deal Wizard, every time you're on the live stream. So I appreciate that so much. Really, really means a lot. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, Bianca, thank you so much for reminding me. Guys, all right, I have a really, really big announcement. This is so important. I'm sorry I didn't get to it earlier. The live stream date and time is changing. I think I alluded to this last week, but I mentioned earlier that I've been writing this book and I've developed I've created a new habit for myself where every morning, basically from 9 to 11 Pacific, I have a writing block. And so I don't do anything. I don't look at email. I set DND on my phone. I don't do anything. I put in my headphones and I write every morning. And so what that means though, is that I need to move this live stream because it's obviously at usually 10 a.m. Pacific on Fridays. And so appreciate your grace there. And the new live stream day and time is going to be Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. So the first one is going to be next Tuesday, whatever that is, 27th, February 27th, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. I know it's a little bit of a different time, and if it's kind of screws up some of the routine that we built over the last 2 years or something doing this live stream, I apologize. But look, I'm the first one to say, like, if you want big results, you have to make big changes sometimes. And I found that writing in the morning, just with the craziness of my business and the way things are happening, it's all like things just go off the rails for me if I'm not able to like maintain a habit, because I still have to run the business, right? I've got all these other moving pieces to the business and the courses and the content and all that stuff. And so if you want to make changes, if you want things to happen, you have to make big moves. You have to move your calendar. Man, it was like, I got to give my Bianca on my team a big shout out that, it's been a Herculean effort to change my calendar around, because for a very long time I had standing meetings on my calendar. I had, my coaching sessions at certain times. I had my office hours for Brand Deal Wizard at certain times. I've been doing, it's tough because like especially when I talk with people in different time zones, like in the UK or stuff, it's really hard to meet, like unless it's like in the morning, right? Because it's like Pacific time to UK time, it's hard. So it's been a Herculean effort to like change things. And so this is one of the casualties, the collateral damage of needing to reorganize the calendar has been this. So appreciate you. I hope to see you on the Tuesday live stream moving forward, Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Are we excited here, guys? Excited. Delilah says, cannot wait to read the book. Yes, absolutely. And by the way, I'm going to be eliciting some beta readers. Okay. If any of you out there might be interested in being beta readers for my book, Please, if you're not already on the newsletter, please do that. I am going to be reaching out probably manually to some people for the first round. I'm going to be doing a lot of beta reading, even when the book's not done yet. Probably like sections as I complete it. So anyone here listening, are you interested in being a beta reader? Please raise your hand, drop it in the chat. Would love to have you because this is starting. It's happening soon. All right, Stefan said, yep. Okay, all right, we've got one. I think Delilah, sounds like maybe you're interested in being a beta reader. That's cool. All right, love to hear it. Excited, guys. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thanks to each and every one of you who show up every week. Big shout out to Uscreen for sponsoring this live stream. Always huge for your support. And hey, I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.